Boys and girls, Greg from the Scary Spirits podcast here to make you another cocktail. This week's cocktail is the zombie. Think there might be a zombie movie tonight, boys and girls? And it is the featured cocktail in today's episode. I'm going to start, as is custom, a shaker with ice. To that, we're going to add rum. 1 ounce of white rum. Next, more rum. Black rum. 3/4 ounce. Next, triple sec. I'm using Cointreau. Orange liqueur. 1/2 ounce. More or less. Next, some orange juice to make it healthy. Vitamin C is very important. One ounce orange juice. Lime juice, freshly squeezed from the plastic lime. 1/2 ounce. Simple syrup. Another 1/2 ounce. Finally, grenadine. 1/4 ounce. Next, we give it a shake. Then we strain into our highball glass filled with ice. Next it says to give it a stir with your bar spoon. I don't know why. We've already shaken it. I don't know why we need to stir it, but that's what the directions say. Then we're going to garnish with a cherry. And there you have it, boys and girls. The zombie. Not bad. Yeah. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoy the podcast. See ya.
If this week's episode of the Scary Spirits podcast, Shaun of the Dead, teaches us anything, it's that you really don't get to pick who you will be with when you suddenly have to fight against the zombie apocalypse. If you're lucky, you might get to collect a few family members and friends, but it'll pretty much boil down to who's in your immediate vicinity when shit gets real. So excuse me while I go expand and cull my friend group. It's more important than you think. But while I work on that, it's worth mentioning that for people of a certain age, This movie has some fond, memory-jogging songs. Freeze. Rock. Cheers.
Welcome to the Scary Spirits Podcast. Please be advised that the presenters may use adult language and/or discuss adult situations. This podcast is not intended for younger listeners or those that may be easily offended. So, if you're ready, let's go.
Hi, everyone. I'm Greg.
Hey, I'm Karen.
And welcome to the Scary Spirits Podcast, the podcast that combines the two very different yet highly compatible worlds of scary films and alcoholic spirits.
What could possibly go wrong?
Indeed. How are you, Karen?
I'm doing great. How are you, Greg?
I'm good. Thanks for asking.
It's what we do.
Karen, I believe this film was your choice, was it? Was it not this week?
It absolutely was.
And what film have you chosen for our enjoyment this week?
I chose the 2004 delightful movie Shaun of the Dead.
Delightful, is it? Is it delightful? Any reason you chose this film, Karen?
Yes, Greg, I have a reason.
Ooh, go on. Do tell.
This film came out on the 24th of September. And if you listen in order, this podcast comes out on the 27th of September. So 3 days later, we're talking about it. Aren't you proud of me?
I am, Karen. Happy anniversary, Shaun of the Dead. 2004, so that means it's what?
Old.
Yeah, it's like 19, right? 19 years ago?
So not that old.
19, yeah.
It's a baby.
Old enough to die for its country, though.
And vote.
And vote.
And buy lottery tickets.
Yes. Drink in some places. Eat marijuana-infused gummies in some places. Maybe. I don't know.
Moving on.
Probably not. I think it would be 21, everyone to do that.
I don't know.
Do that.
I honestly don't know.
Do you have a cocktail for tonight's film, Karen, to sip while we discuss?
I do, and it's a long overdue cocktail, I think.
Go on.
It's the zombie cocktail. I can't believe we haven't had it yet.
We haven't done a ton of zombie films, have we?
No, but I was actually watching the Halloween Baking Championship, and they had to bake desserts based on very popular Halloween cocktails. And we had done 3 of the 4 cocktails, including this one. So there was the zombie cocktail, the skeleton key, the dark and stormy.
Whoa, those going way back.
And
Skeleton
one
key
called
especially.
the Widow's Kiss, I think, which we might have to look up and see what that was. So this one's obviously popular. It's supposed to make you a zombie after you drink a couple. It's pretty strong, so I don't know.
I don't know.
Well, here's what's in it, Greg. 2 ounces of white rum, 1.75 ounces of dark rum, an ounce of triple sec, 2 ounces of orange juice, 1 ounce of lime juice, 1 ounce of simple syrup, and a 1/4 ounce of grenadine. Pour all of that into a shaker full of ice and give it a go. I like that instruction. Give it a go. Strain and pour into a highball glass filled with ice. Stir with a bar spoon and garnish with a cherry and an orange slice, if you're fancy.
Maybe it is potent, Karen, because I'm trying to remember whether I did the proper measurements. When you said 2 ounces, I'm like, did I do 2 ounces of white rum? I don't know. I don't remember. So
there you go. You're already representing the drink.
Karen, I have questions.
What's that?
So we give it a go in a shaker, right?
I'm going to use that from now on. Yeah, give it a go.
Then we strain it into a glass with ice. It's supposed to be crushed ice. Did you say that?
I did not. Mine doesn't say that.
Well, it was on Bacardí.com. That's what it says. Crushed ice.
But mine
But anyway, but then you need to stir it with a bar spoon. What's the point of that after you've already given it a go in a shaker?
I don't know. Make sure the grenadine doesn't sink, maybe. I don't know.
Okay, whatever. I did it. Seemed like a lot of extra work, lots of extra wrist movement there, but whatever. Should we give our listeners and friends time to make their own zombie?
Absolutely.
Hold on. And we're back.
Yes, we are.
My zombie has been sitting for a little while, I'll say, Karen. It's getting better as the ice melts, I think.
I would agree.
It was a little strong at first, but we'll get to that later.
Slam it. You want to be a zombie or not? Take charge, Greg.
Might you have a brief synopsis for us, Karen?
I do.
Go on. Tell me a story.
Shaun is a 30-something loser with a dull, easy existence. When he's not working at the electronics store, he lives with his slovenly best friend, Ed, in a small flat on the outskirts of London. The only unpredictable element in his life is his girlfriend, Liz, who wishes desperately for Shaun to grow up and be a man. When the town is inexplicably overrun with zombies, Shaun must rise to the occasion and protect both Liz and his mother.
Fairly accurate.
I'd say it's pretty good.
It's fair.
Okay, not going to argue with you. We've had worse.
We have. All right, boys and girls, once again, I'll remind you that we are doing things different now. We are switching it up. Right now, I'm going to go and ask Karen what she really enjoyed about this film. And we will go in scene by scene later. Karen, what did you really enjoy about this film or pleasantly surprised by? Anything?
Yeah, I liked a couple of things. I liked the humor. It's a comedy, dark, obviously, but still a comedy, which I really enjoyed. It's a nice break from the more serious films we've done. I liked that the cast was small enough that I could remember who everyone was. A lot of the films we've done lately seem to have larger casts, and I don't know who's who, and it frustrates me. So this was easy to keep track of. I thought the zombies looked like zombies. I thought they were well done. I liked, too, that, yes, it's a zombie movie, but it's also kind of a buddy comedy, and it's also kind of a romantic
comedy,
and it also has a mother-son relationship. So there's a lot of personal relationships packed in there, and somehow it works. It's not too over the top in any one of those things. There was some nice timing with some songs. They used music well. I thought the acting was good. Story was good. It's a typical zombie story, I think. They kind of let you know what was happening, why it was all happening without beating you in the face with it, which I thought was kind of subtle and nice. What about you? What did you like?
I agree with you on pretty much all of that. Have you seen it before?
No, I hadn't.
Okay, so I have seen it before. It's been a few years, probably. I think my son was in high school and he's 30 now. So it's been at least 10 years probably since I've seen it. But I thought it was much funnier this time for whatever reason. Maybe I'd forgotten a lot of it. I remember watching it, but I don't remember a lot about it so much, but it was much funnier than I remembered. It's a good horror comedy, which is hard to do well, right? There's lots
Agreed.
of horror comedies, but there's not a lot of good ones.
Do you think it was one of the first in that kind of genre or not?
No, I don't think so.
It's kind of along the lines of Zombieland. Is that the one with Woody Harrelson?
That was later though.
Yeah, much later. But if you've seen that one, it's very similar. It's British. This one's British.
Mm-hmm. And you were talking about the music and how everything fit. Well, it was well choreographed. It was well planned out, well timed out, which I guess to be a good horror comedy has to be because it's all about the timing, right? So it was story was well done.
If you're looking for gore, it definitely has gore.
There's gore.
Which
makeup's pretty good. Special effects are pretty good.
There's some social commentary in there at the beginning a little bit, I think, where people who have dull lives and do the same thing every day, they're kind of shown as zombies already.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost an inspiration to get out of your comfort zone, out of your box, and do something crazy and different.
I agree.
It's inspirational, Greg.
Well, now you're going a little too far, Karen, I think. Anything you didn't like, Karen?
Not really. There were a couple of times they just didn't make wise choices. And
it's a horror movie, Karen.
adds to the gore of it and things, but obviously bad choices. It's interesting, though. They're kind of just normal Joe run-of-the-mill people, and all of a sudden this starts happening, and they don't know what to do. And at one point, they're just throwing everything but the kitchen sink at zombies until they can figure out what to do. And there's a lot of, and it's definitely part of the humor, and it is funny, but there are times where you're almost frustrated with them, but you're assuming that they don't know the lore and how to kill a zombie. But otherwise, no, there wasn't much that I didn't like about it. Really, I really enjoyed it. Did you not like anything?
I can't think of anything I didn't really like. I can't think of anything that grinded my gears, Karen.
Right. There's nothing that makes you upset or frustrated, or, it's got a lot of elements in it, and it's funny.
Yeah, it is a small cast, and there's kind of a love triangle thing going on too.
A couple
which is
of them.
Interesting. And
yeah, some stepfather issues and just flatmate issues, as they say in England.
But you're right.
Roommate issues.
It is a small cast, but they're all like intertwined in interesting ways, I guess.
And you wonder in your group of friends who would come out the leader, the hero.
I don't wonder, Karen.
Well, not in a zombie apocalypse, certainly, but maybe other situations where you aren't an expert.
I still don't wonder, Karen.
Well, your groups of friends might break off into other groups then.
Well, good riddance to him then. Good luck.
No, I liked it. I heard of it, but I had never seen it. So I just wanted to see it. It's not overly long. It's not bloated with a lot of extra stuff in it just to put extra stuff in it.
It's like 100 minutes, but it goes by quick.
Yeah, I agree.
There are not any lulls.
Especially once it gets started.
Pretty much nonstop. Go, 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 go.
Well, it's an apocalypse.
Even when they're coming up with the plans, it's go, 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 because we see what they're planning, even though it hasn't happened.
That was funny.
What kind of cocktail rating you want to give it, Karen?
A little torn on that one. You think it's a 2?
I think it's a 2.
Do you?
I hadn't really thought about it until just now, but
yeah, we've given
number
movies
that popped
that
in
are
my
a lot
mind
worse.
was a 2.
Yeah. We've given a lot worse movies 3s.
All right, 2 cocktails.
I mean, you have to go in knowing it's campy and a comedy. That's where your expectation has to be. But I think it's very well done.
I don't think it needs to be your expectation. It's just...
Well, yeah, it's not a straight up horror movie, though. It's not scary, particularly, because of the humor.
Yeah.
But it kind of lets you relax.
Yeah, not many horror films scare me anyway, Karen.
Okay, well, not you, but they do scare me. So.
Okay. All right, 2 cocktails. And once again, boys and girls, that means it only took us 2 cocktails to get through it, which means it's pretty good. Actually, only took me 1, but we'll give it a 2. All right, Karen, would you like to hear some reviews from the Times, or one review from the Time, Karen?
Yes, I'd only like to hear one. Review from the Critics' Corner. Do you have one?
I do have one, Karen. But first, I will say this film has a 92% approval rating on Rotten Tomatoes. It's pretty good. 7.9 out of 10 on IMDb, which again is pretty good, almost 80. And 92% of people on Google like this movie, just like Rotten Tomatoes. 92%. The review I have, Karen, is from Roger Ebert.
Actual Roger Ebert?
Actual Roger Ebert.
Excellent.
September 24th, 2004. And as usual, I will be paraphrasing. Probably reading, I don't know, half of it. Shaun of the Dead is a send-up to zombie movies, but in an unexpected way. Instead of focusing on the undead and trying to get the laughs there, it treats the living characters as sitcom regulars whose conflicts and arguments keep getting interrupted by annoying flesh eaters. In the first 2 or 3 scenes, as he crawls out of bed and plods down the street, wrapped in the misery of his hangover, Shaun doesn't even notice the zombies. Sure, they're on the TV news, but who watches the news? For Shaun and Ed, the news functions primarily as reassurance that the set will be operating when the football match begins. Shaun of the Dead has its pleasures, which are mild but real. I like the way the slacker characters maintain their slothful gormlessness in the face of urgent danger. And I like the way the British bourgeois values of Shaun's mum, he spells it mum, M-U-M, mum and dad assert themselves even in the face of catastrophe. There is also that stubborn British courage in times of trouble. We never close, bragged the big neon sign outside the Windmill Strip Club in Soho, which stayed open every night during the Blitz. In this movie, the Winchester pub exhibits the same spirit. Good thing the movie is about more than zombies. I am by now more or less exhausted by the cinematic possibilities of killing them. I've seen thousands of zombies die, and they're awfully easy to kill unless you get a critical mass that piles on all at once. George Romero, who invented the modern genre with Night of the Living Dead and Dawn of the Dead, was essentially devising video game targets before there were video games. They pop up one after another and you shoot them or bang them on the head with a cricket bat. It's more fun sitting in the dark eating peanuts.
I will grab onto one thing he said and I'll add it to what I liked. And I noticed it, but I didn't remember to say it, is they all did stay in character. Nobody became this amazing hero at the end. Even though Shaun does take charge, when he gets a gun, he can't hit anything with it because he's never shot a gun. Right. So it's not like yes, he gets some shots off and he gets lucky, but a lot of them completely miss. Or they start arguing about their relationship in the middle of it, which I don't know if I would do or not, but maybe. But nobody turns into the ultimate hero or the damsel in distress or any of that stuff. They all stay in the role that they would have been, even if all of this wasn't happening. Even when the mom goes through her issues at the end, and when you're a mom, you don't want to bother your kids with anything. Oh, I don't want to be a bother, so she stays in the mom character. Like, they all stay in that role, and I thought that was really good. They all know each other, so they all kind of know their personalities, and they stay in those personalities. And that's hard to do in these movies because you want someone
that speaks to good writing, right?
Exactly.
And probably directing
and acting, all of it together. It's just one of those little details that sometimes gets lost in these kind of movies, where all of a sudden somebody who was meek and mild becomes fearless and brave. And not that you couldn't do that in some situations, but you're not going to gain knowledge that you never had. You're not going to know how to shoot a gun if you've never shot one. You're not going to have great aim or any of those things unless you're very lucky. So that he's right. That's a very poignant part of the film, I think. That's why
I will say
the best.
One thing I didn't like is near the end when they try to figure out how many more bullets or cartridges do we have, right? He stops for a moment and he says 2. There's no way he could have known that shit. That's really the only.
I think it's all what's left in the gun.
Well, yeah, but he looks to be like he's thinking about how many shots. He has no fucking idea how many shots he fired. I guarantee
that's true.
So that's the only critique I have.
That makes the story. Yeah, that's part of the story, but you're right.
Another thing, they blended in a little too easily with the zombies when they did.
Yeah, but I think that was kind of funny too.
It was. There was a whole thing.
But that kind of comes from, what's the pod movie? Body Snatchers.
Oh,
remember when they had
the Body Snatchers?
When they pretended to be snatched by pods, and so that's a common trope. I just thought it was funny.
It's in The Walking Dead too. They did that, but they covered themselves in blood and to mask their scent, and you know what I mean?
The failed actress gives them pointers.
Yes. I did enjoy that. That was a good scene, but we'll get to it. Speaking of which, Karen, are you ready to get into it?
Yeah, let's go.
Shaun of the Dead from 2004. Did you watch this on Amazon Prime, Karen?
I did.
I did too.
I think we might have a copy of it somewhere.
See, I looked. I know my son
but I
has
couldn't
a copy,
find it.
But he must have taken it when he vacated the premises, Karen, because it's not here anymore. He left some of his other films, but he took this one.
I can understand that.
I watched on Amazon Prime as well. Rated R. Alcohol use, violence, smoking, and foul language. Not necessarily in that order.
No nudity.
No, there is none.
Well, I'm just saying it's surprising. They could have thrown some in.
Suppose. I wouldn't have been mad.
No, I know.
Especially if it was Liz. But moving on. Movie opens, Karen, and we see Shaun drinking a beer and smoking a Marlboro, talking to his girlfriend while his roommate is playing a video game at a pub, which we learn is the Winchester, right?
Yes, and it's more Liz. His girlfriend's name is Liz, talking to him. She wants more, Greg.
Talking to him or talking at him, Karen?
Well, she's expressing herself, and she's standing up for herself and saying what she wants. She wants to do interesting things. She wants to live a little. She wants him to want to do that too. And all they do is they go out to this one pub.
I think it's funny that they talk about their friends while they're right there too.
They are. They're right there. No offense.
That's funny. Yes. Liz wants to spend more quality time with Shaun. Then they discuss Shaun's mom. Right? She wants to know when she's going to meet her or something. Is that what it is?
Yeah.
And then we have credits.
He's going to change. He's going to start tomorrow with all these changes where he's not going to smoke and they're going to do interesting things and all this. How many times have you said that? I'll start tomorrow.
Who, me? Once.
Anyone.
And apparently they make plans to go to dinner like the next night or some shit.
Well, he tells her, I'm going to change. We're going to go to that fancy place to eat. Just me and you.
Yeah, she doesn't she wants to spend more time with him, not him and his friends or him and Ed, really. But she's got her fucking friends there. I don't know whatever. And we see Ed playing a video game back at their home. Their flat is what they call it. But I don't know the definition of flat, but this is like a townhome.
It's an apartment.
It's a townhouse. 2 floors.
Yeah, it's got 2 floors.
So they're
playing
video games, and Shaun joins, and then he has to
First we see what looks like a zombie walking in the kitchen. They show him shuffling along bare feet, and it's just Shaun getting up in the morning.
Yes. They do that several times throughout the movie. And then we meet Pete, who apparently is really the roommate. Ed is just a freeloader. So Pete and Shaun are roommates, and Ed is just staying there, right? And Pete's apparently there's a problem between Pete and Ed.
Well, yeah, Pete's not really a contributor. He kind of just
he's a freeloader. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. He sleeps on the couch, apparently.
Plays video games all day. Sells weed every once in a while.
As you do.
Have you ever slept on someone's couch? For long term? Not just a night, but have you ever been a freeloader?
Do sofa couches count?
Well, yeah, I'm pretty sure that's where Ed's sleeping.
Yes, I have, Karen. Once. So I guess Shaun goes to work, phone rings, and the machine picks up, answering machine, Karen. And it's Liz, and she's saying she's going to be tied up at work and to book a table for 8 instead of 7.
Yes, 8:00, because she's going to take a little longer to get out of work.
Then we see Shaun on his way to work, and
they show him being oblivious, walking to the corner store.
Yeah, doing his daily routine, apparently.
Yeah. He's just going there. He gets, I think, something to drink, pays the guy.
First he pulls the Coke, then he puts it back, then he reaches in and grabs the Diet Coke.
Oh, because he's changing his life. See, he's trying to be better. He's getting his shit together, so he's going to drink Diet.
Okay.
But while he's there are a bunch of newspapers with articles on it. And then there's also a radio program playing in the background talking about America's program Omega-6. It's said to return this weekend and has unexpectedly re-entered the Earth's atmosphere over southeast England and broken apart over a populated area. So they've set up kind of what might be happening.
I completely missed all of that, Karen.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
It was on the radio. And then there's a couple of headlines on the newspaper in the what I would call the pony keg, but everyone else calls the corner store.
I'd call it a pony keg.
I know, because you grew up where I did. I would love to know. Nobody has heard that before. If you know what a pony keg is,
I know people.
Me.
Yeah.
But outside of our little
people,
region.
Yeah, I know people who know. Like, I have friends in Massachusetts and they call it the pony.
Oh, okay. I've never run into anyone who called it a pony keg before, besides people I grew up with.
Well, I wouldn't call it a pony keg if there wasn't 2 stores near us that had pony keg on the freaking sign, right?
But that's how we knew what it was. Anyway, moving along. It's a convenience store. But he's oblivious. He does this every single day. So he's almost like a zombie. Walks to the store, doesn't really pay attention, gives coins to the guy who wants coins, says hello to people, walks in the store, knows the owner, buys his normal thing, leaves the store. Same thing every day.
So we see him at work selling electronics.
He is noticing things, though, as he goes along a little bit.
People are sick, getting sick.
Yes.
Apparently. People are out of work. People aren't working because they're homesick.
Yeah, lots of people are homesick. And at his place of employment, I was going to say business, but his place of employment. So he's the oldest. So he's taken over as the store manager. Apparently he's about 30 and everybody who works for him is a teenager and they're very disrespectful to him.
So then Shaun's stepfather arrives at the store, Philip. He reminds him of his bi-monthly visit and he is supposed to bring flowers this time because he forgot last time.
Yeah, he forgot on Mother's Day.
And we keep seeing shots outside. There's military vehicles driving around, and we kind of get the feeling that something's going on, but we don't really.
There's We're
signs.
Not for sure. Yes, there are signs. And every time we see Philip, they'll say, your dad's here. And he always says, he's not my dad. He's my stepdad. He wants to be very clear that Philip is not his dad. So we see that dynamic of them not getting along. Not in a very argumentative or brutal way, they just don't like each other very much. It seems like, or at least that's how Shaun sees it.
So then Liz calls Shaun at work just to make sure he got the message, and of course he lies. He just nods because his 17-year-old coworker is watching him or whatever. And
there's sirens in the background this whole time.
So then we see Shaun buying flowers for his mother, and I wrote, people are acting erratically around him, but he is
oblivious.
Then we see Shaun on the bus and people around him are coughing. Karen, I wrote.
Lots
there. Then he meets an old friend on the street. I guess it's Yvonne. Is Yvonne an old girlfriend?
I don't know her. She wants to be a girlfriend.
Because she asked about Liz.
She seems disappointed when they're still together.
Yeah. And shit seems to be hitting the fan around them, but they don't notice. An ambulance arrives, takes someone out of a car who is like up against the steering wheel, like he gone. And when Yvonne asks about Liz, he's reminded that, oh shit, they're supposed to go out that night, and he has forgotten. He hasn't made reservations yet, so he runs home, tries to make reservations, and of course they're all booked. Karen, Liz calls the house and she learns that Shaun did not book the table. He says, let's go to the Winchester, like they always do every time apparently. When Shaun goes to see Liz,
well, she hangs up on him when he suggests that, because that's the same thing that they always do. And he's made all these promises and then went right back to the normal stuff.
He's still got his flowers, but he goes to see Liz, tries to talk to her, but she's not having any of it. Apparently, Shaun makes lots of promises he can't keep, Karen.
Or doesn't want to. And
Shaun tries to give the flowers he bought for his mother to Liz, but she ain't buying it.
No, and he admits when he's wrong, he admits it readily in this film. Or when
And
he's
then-
lying and they call him out, he's like, "You're right."
And Liz breaks up with Shaun. We see Shaun and Ed at the bar.
When Shaun walks back to the tavern, there's car alarms going off in the background everywhere. And he does see a couple making out in the corner before he
Outside the
goes
bar.
in. Yeah.
Mhm. Goes in the bar and he and Ed are talking, and If You Leave Me Now by Chicago comes on the jukebox, Karen.
Yeah. What are the odds? So If You Leave Me Now, the song by the American rock group Chicago, do you know what
Oh my
album it
God.
was on?
Oh no, but I know it's old because it was one of my favorites back in elementary school, and I'm freaking ancient, Karen, just like you.
It was on Chicago X. It was written and sung by bass player Peter Cetera and
Of course it was.
released as a single on July 30th, 1976.
Sounds about right.
It topped the Billboard Hot 100 on October 23rd, 1976, and stayed there for 2 weeks, making it the first #1 hit for the group, as well as hitting #1 on the easy listening charts.
My God, Karen.
But it was one of 5 non-disco songs to make it to #1 in the US in a 9-month period of 1976. Disco was very popular and it actually broke through.
And then we see Ed and Shaun talking about people at the bar. And Ed's making up backstories for all the people, all the regulars at the bar, including the bartender.
Yeah, like why would it be so bad ending up here? Look at so-and-so over there and so-and-so. And then he starts making Shaun laugh because Shaun's crying in his beer, literally crying because he's broken up with Liz.
Or Liz has broken up with him.
True. They are broken up.
Which is usually the way it works. Then they leave the bar and they're singing White Lines, Karen.
Yes. Who sung that song? Do you know?
The original, I want to say when it was playing, I was thinking, I think it's Grandmaster Flash.
It's Melly Mel.
Okay, Melly Mel.
It's White Lines, Don't Do It. Sung by an American hip hop recording artist. I think it's Melly Mel, Mellemel, Melly Mel, right?
Mm-hmm.
Released as a 12-inch in what year? 1983 on Sugar Hill Records. I was impressed they knew all the lines. It used to be a big dance number in the bars.
Oh my God, yeah. Every night I went to a bar, they played this damn song, and everyone got out there and danced. And Duran Duran did a very good cover of it.
Oh, I did not know that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I don't know any of the words because I only heard it in the bars. Let's just say I wasn't at the capacity to remember any of the words except the chorus. Yeah. And freeze and
freeze.
Rock. Yeah. Ah, the memories.
Yeah. And we see Ed and Shaun playing hip hop in their apartment. Pete comes in and berates them. Apparently it's late or early in the morning.
It's 4 a.m. And they think it's Saturday, but it's actually Sunday, and Pete has to get up in the morning.
Yeah. And we learn that Pete was bitten on the hand on his way home from work. He was mugged and got bitten on the hand.
He also yells at Shaun that Ed is just holding him back. He's just a bigger loser than you are. That's the only reason you keep him around. He's pretty brutal. But yeah, he got bit because he was mugged, he said. And he has a headache. And he yells at them because the front door is open again. They always leave the front door open. It's a running joke.
And we see next morning, I guess, Shaun goes to the store. He does the same freaking routine, walks to the store, grabs one can, puts the can back, grabs another can, the Diet Coke. But this time, everything's very disheveled, I wrote.
Yeah, there's chaos in the streets almost. There's bloody handprints on the refrigerator. He slips, which is probably in blood.
And he's oblivious to all of it.
Kind of like, wasn't Anna on the Apocalypse like that? Weren't they doing stuff and there were zombies all around him and they didn't notice? They're in their own little world. He does the same thing.
I thought of that film a couple times while watching.
Trips on the curb. And that was later than this?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes, it was. Zombies walking the streets. Shaun is oblivious. He goes to the store, gets his Diet Coke, puts the money on the counter and leaves. More zombies. We see more zombies as he walks back home. Gets back home. He starts channel surfing. Lots of news.
Skips all the news.
Yeah, lots of news reports, but he just skips over them. And then Ed tells him there's a girl in the garden. And they go out there and watch her and say, excuse me, lady.
Well, you would do that, right?
And they think she's drunk. Like, oh
Well,
my
she's
God,
just
she's
standing
so
there
drunk.
kind of swaying.
And the girl turns and attacks Shaun. Ed pulls her off him. Shaun pushes her away and she falls on like the umbrella stand or something. And she's impaled.
Yes, but right before that, when she starts coming after Shaun and knocks her down, Ed takes a picture
Yes.
because he thinks it's funny. He thinks she's just this drunk girl on top of him. But then Shaun pushes her off of him, and then she lands on an umbrella stand right through her gut. And they stand there horrified because they think they just pushed a drunk girl off him and now she's dead in their backyard, which would be horrifying.
I suppose. But she gets right up, Karen, with a hole in her gut.
And we see right through it.
I don't really like that when they do that. It's not real. But anyway, so Shaun and Ed try to go back into the house, but there is another zombie blocking their way in. They get inside and Shaun tries to call, I guess, 911. I don't know what they have 911 in England or what.
Whatever the England version
whatever it is. But I guess it's busy and there are zombies at the window. They watch news reports. People are urged to stay inside and lock their doors. Zombie
Which, of course,
enters.
their door is open because it's a running joke and their front door is open.
Zombie enters, they throw things at it, and eventually Ed hits it in the head with an ashtray and it falls to the ground.
Is this your first time listening to the Scary Spirits podcast? Or maybe you're a regular listener, but missed a few along the way. No worries. Not only can you find every episode on our website, scaryspirits.com, but you'll also get to enjoy awesome show notes too. I just want to say we really appreciate your support. Now let's get back to the show.
Cut to news reports saying that the zombies can be killed by removing their heads or destroying the brain.
He says it multiple times.
Shaun and Ed begin throwing things at the zombies in the yard and trying to hit them in the head.
With things that aren't very heavy at all.
No, they're not. Then they begin throwing record albums at the zombies.
Well, one of them was a record album, and it kind of stuck in the face of the
eye of the dude, but
of the one zombie. So then they get the great idea that they're going to go in and get all. So they run in and get all the records, but then they have this scene where
not a lot of records.
No, but they're deciding which ones
like
they can throw and which ones they can't.
Yeah, I guess it's Shaun's records because probably Ed don't own anything. And he's asking, Purple Rain? No. Sign of the Times? No.
No Prince.
Sade? Okay. And they actually got her permission. Liz's. They got her permission to do that too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they ask all those artists for permission to mention them. But
well, the Batman soundtrack, they could sell that. They could Dire Straits. They can throw Sade. They could throw.
And Sade says, yeah, you can absolutely destroy that album. I'm fine with it.
It was Liz's.
Right. But Sade told them that, yeah, absolutely. So I don't think it was one of her favorite records either.
Oh, she just liked that somebody was going to mention her.
So then they beat the zombie. They go into the shed, come out with
which is locked, but they bust in the door.
A shovel and a cricket bat, and they beat the zombies over the head with them. And we see news reports about people who have been bitten, and they begin to wonder about Pete. And they look for Pete, or they don't really look real hard. They just call upstairs for him.
Yeah, they don't want to go up there.
Pete.
Oh, Pete, are you okay up there?
But they don't go up there. And his keys are there too to his car. So they figure, oh, he must have got a ride. They don't want to go look. So then Shaun tries to call Liz because all of a sudden he's like, shit, what about Liz? I'm worried about Liz all of a sudden. And then Shaun's mom calls. He thinks it's Liz calling him back, but it's not. It's his mom. And we learn that his stepfather, Philip, has been bitten.
Well, the mom says she's fine, but there were some men that have tried to get in the house, but they just shut the curtains. And he says, are you okay? And she said, well, the men were a bit bitey. And he asks if she's been bitten. She says no, but Philip has.
And right
and
then,
he's now a bit under the weather.
Yeah, and right then, Ed says, "We're coming to get you, Barbara." Which, as soon as I looked at the cast and I learned her name was Barbara, I knew there was going to be a Night of the Living Dead Barbara reference. And there it is right there. So I was just waiting for that.
But they're both fine with having to kill the stepfather. They say, oh, but Philip's bitten. Oh, okay, good. And same with Ed.
And then they begin making a plan to save Mom. And Liz.
I missed that reference to Barbara. I should have known that, but I get it now.
Oh my god! As soon as I saw the cast and the characters, I'm like,
he shouts it in a very noticeable way, and I didn't get it.
And then there's news reports urging everyone to stay in their homes. Then they're going to go save Barbara and Liz, but Shaun first has to go to the bathroom, and while he's in there, he finds Pete in the shower. And he's a zombie, a naked zombie. So Shaun kind of like shuts the door and runs away, and he and Ed drive away in Pete's car.
They make a couple of plans. The first one is they're going to grab the keys, go in Pete's car, go to the mom's house, get the mom, pick her up, go get Liz, pick her up, or stay at Liz's and have some tea. And Ed's like, well, I don't want to stay at Liz's because she won't let me smoke. And I want to be familiar with my surroundings. And they come up with another plan. They finally decide they're going to pick everybody up and go back to the pub.
Yep, where they can drink and smoke.
Yes, the Winchester. And they know where the exits are and everything.
News on the radio. The recently deceased are coming back to life and attacking the living, Karen. Driving down the road and they hit someone in the street and they back up and say, "Are you okay?" He's obviously all mangled up.
And he's an old man.
It was funny.
Yeah, and they seize the zombie. They say, oh, thank God.
He comes up and they leave. They drive away.
The funny part was I thought, oh, because Ed really wants to drive because Pete obviously would never let him drive his car. And then they're sort of getting surrounded by zombies when they're out there. And I thought, oh, well, Shaun's going to drive because it's England. And I didn't notice that when Ed got in, he's driving because it's on the other side. Yeah. So
that took me a second as well.
But he's driving with glee. Let's just say that.
So then they arrive at Shaun's mom's house, and there's a Jaguar in the driveway there. Apparently, Philip has a Jag, and Ed is very interested in driving the Jag now.
Yes.
So Shaun goes in to see his mom and Philip and whatever. Ed says, "No, I'll stay here. I'll stay in the car. I'll stay in the car. Just go ahead on. I'll stay in the car. I'll beep if I need anything." So Philip,
we don't know what he's going to do, but it's not good, whatever it is.
Shaun goes in and we learn that Philip has been bitten, but he hasn't turned yet. And then Shaun and his mother argue about Philip.
And it's been 17 years and he's still not over it. Come on, Shaun.
Shaun convinces them all to leave the house, and as they're leaving, Philip is attacked by zombies. Shaun fights them off with his cricket bat. They all get in the Jaguar and Ed drive.
So it's pretty gross bite. They take a hunk out of his neck.
I think he's gone, regardless if it's a zombie or not.
Yeah, right? It's ugly.
He's bleeding out.
Yes. And Ed's driving way too fast with really loud music, and Philip's annoyed by it. And he's just picking off zombies like a video game.
And then apparently they get to Liz's apartment. Shaun gets out of the car to get Liz. He has Ed drive around the block. Shaun kills several zombies with the cricket bat as he approaches. He rings the bell, but they won't let him in. Liz's roommates.
Because they've broken up.
Diane and David. They say, she doesn't want to see you. Whatever. Shaun, he says, you want me to climb up the window? So that's what he does. So he climbs up and comes up through the window.
And it's a repeat of a scene earlier. They did the same thing where he tries to climb in the window. He's got the flowers that he was supposed to give his mom. He does try the same exact thing earlier.
Yes, true. And he does.
They do let him in and they talk back then, but he just comes in the window this time.
And he tells them he has come to get them, to take them to safety. Shaun tells them it's not about
them, I wrote. So I guess him and Liz, they need to get somewhere safe. And Shaun tells them they're going to the Winchester.
And he has a car, but it's going to be a little tight.
Leave the apartment, and Shaun takes out a bunch of zombies with his cricket bat again. Ed arrives, and they all get into the Jaguar because he already crashed
He crashed Pete's
car earlier. So that's why they're
just playing around while Shaun was in with his mom.
And Shaun finally introduces his mother to Liz.
When they're crammed in the car together.
Then Ed drives over a bunch of zombies.
On purpose, like he's swerving to actually hit them. He's like in a live video game at this point.
True, I hadn't thought of that, but yeah. And then Philip and Shaun share a moment, I wrote.
Yeah, he tried to be the father figure, but it didn't work out.
I always loved you. There he go. Like I said, he's bleeding out the whole time. And Shaun tells them to pull the car over. They pull the car over, and just then Philip turns.
And he's got the child locks on. Yes. So they can't get out of the back seat. So they have to end up leaving Philip in the car.
And Shaun crawls out the sunroof, apparently. So they all get out, close Philip in the car, and they find that they're surrounded by zombies. So they begin walking and try to find their way to the Winchester, going through yards. Shaun says, I know we're close. And just then they see one of the regulars who we saw earlier being eaten by a zombie.
Like a lunch buffet. It's pretty gross.
Then they run into Yvonne and her mother and other friends.
Well, it's an exact duplicate of the friend group that he's with. So it's Shaun and then Yvonne. And then
I didn't notice that either, but you're right.
The hair, everything. They're all even dressed the same. And they had introduced, they've got the mom, the roommate, and the two others that are like, it's exact friends, duplicate.
Yeah. And Shaun tells them we're going to the Winchester. And she says, oh, the pub. Good luck. Good luck with that.
They don't say where they're going, though.
They don't. So they're trying to get to the pub, and Shaun's mother stops because she thinks a couple of her friends live there nearby or some shit. And eventually Shaun realizes that, oh, where's mom? And he goes back.
Mom is not with them. Yeah.
And he's attacked by a zombie. Then the girls throw Shaun a pole, and he impales the zombie with it into a tree.
Yeah. And David and Ed do nothing. He's like, anytime you want to jump in here.
So then I laughed at this part. So then Shaun climbs up on a child's ladder, like a
swing set ladder.
It's a slide, right?
Yeah, it's a slide.
Up on a slide. So look, to get the high ground, to see if the coast is clear over the fence. And he comes back down and says, there are a bunch of zombies blocking the entrance to the Winchester. No, it's not clear. So then we see Diane.
Well, Shaun has a plan. He's like, okay. So he tells Diane to take charge, and she's the failed actress. That's what he called her.
We learned that earlier.
A long time ago. Yeah.
And she begins teaching them how to act like a zombie. She's doing actor training right here. And it's pretty good.
It's funny.
She makes them all, act like a zombie and critiques them and all that. So they decide to act like zombies and make their way to the Winchester. They get through the zombies, but the doors to the Winchester are locked.
And one of the reasons they go there and they say it's safe is it has very thick doors and deadbolts. So you're not going to be able to just push the door open.
Yeah. And they talk about breaking a window, and Shaun's like, no, we can't do that because then
they'll just follow us
open.
In.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But freaking David, right? David throws a garbage can through the window, breaks the window, and they all pile in. But Shaun drives the zombies away from the Winchester. He tells the other to go inside.
Yeah, he distracts them and runs.
He's like, hey, look at me, look at me, look at me. And they run after him. And Shaun's mother.
He does when he's running. He calls it, come on, you can eat. It's a running buffet. I thought that was pretty funny.
And then in the garbage can that David threw against the window are the flowers that Shaun bought for his mother, and she finds them and she says, oh, I think these are for me. So then we see all the others inside the Winchester, and they're all arguing.
He must have taken all the zombies with him because the window's open and nobody comes in.
Yeah, but David especially wants to block off the window, and he doesn't think Shaun's coming back.
Right. Because David's secretly in love with Liz. We
He
all
is.
know it.
Yeah, we do. And he's bad talking Shaun just as Shaun arrives.
And they're like, how'd you lose him? Shaun's like, it's not that hard. Respect, or he's acting all calm about it. But we find out in a few minutes, they all just followed him back. He just was faster.
And then do Diane and David have a little argument here or something?
David just starts, before Shaun gets back, David's pointing out all his bad points, that he doesn't keep his promises. And, Liz is like, let's just keep quiet and wait for him. And then they start to drink at the bar because they don't know what else to do. And then Shaun is back.
Yeah. And then the power
And then Shaun wants to, because David's like, well, what's his plan going to be? That we all just sit in the dark and eat peanuts? And then we cut to them all just sitting in the dark and eating peanuts. And at that point,
what Roger Ebert talks about in his review.
Yes. Shaun tries to get Ed to do his Clyde impression.
Yeah. From Every Which Way But Loose.
Yes. From Every Which Way But Loose, which was a 1978 American action comedy film. It stars Clint Eastwood in an uncharacteristic and offbeat comedy role as, how do you say it? Philo?
Philo.
In an uncharacteristic and offbeat comedy role as Philo Bordeaux, a trucker and a bare-knuckle brawler roaming the American West in search of a lost love, while accompanied by his brother
Sandra Locke
Orville and his pet orangutan Clyde.
I'm sure you've seen that film.
I have not.
Oh my God. I saw it in the theater, I think.
It's not but he does a great impression of the orangutan Clyde, apparently.
We saw it earlier, but we didn't know that's what he was doing.
Yes, but here they explain it. And then he says, I'm not a performing monkey, because he doesn't want to do it in front of everyone.
Then the street lights come on, Karen. So apparently there's power back on the street. And Shaun goes to the fuse box to flip the fuses because they want to watch TV, see if there's any news.
They argue a little bit about it.
He and David again butt heads right here.
Yeah, because turning on the lights will bring them in. They'll know that there are people in there.
And then we see zombies at the back door, Karen.
Yes.
TV channels are all off air, all of them, even the cable, even Discovery, Karen. It's all off air.
And they say, well, let's just stay here and be quiet. But Ed has asked Liz for a quid. I think it was a quid. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And he starts playing the video game.
I don't know. Then Shaun tells Liz that the zombie followed him. Ed's playing a video game, and apparently he wins. And he starts going off like you want a jackpot or some shit. And they run over real quick and pull the plug on the game because they don't want the zombies to enter. And then the bartender enters, and he's a zombie.
Yeah, we don't know where he came from. Do you?
Nope. And Queen comes on the jukebox, Karen.
So Don't Stop Me Now comes on the jukebox loud because somebody's flipping. Is somebody flipping the switches, or it just comes on?
Not yet. It just comes on.
And they can't turn it off. But it's from their 1978 album Jazz, released as a single in 1979.
It's off Jazz.
The name of the album is Jazz.
Yeah, I know. That's the same one. It's got Fat Bottom Girls on it.
Okay. Written by Freddie Mercury. It was recorded in August 1978.
Bicycle Race.
It's also on the Greatest Hits album.
I didn't think it was that early. Okay.
The band felt they were getting better at having a good time, and the lyrics reflect this. You might be thinking of the alternative version of the song with a harder guitar-driven arrangement, which appeared on Bohemian Rhapsody, the original soundtrack. But it was billed as Don't Stop Me Now Revisited.
Jazz was pretty much I don't know if it's the height. I mean, the game came next, and that was probably their high point, but whatever. We digress. And this is a side note, Karen. I have lots of issues with Bohemian Rhapsody, the movie. But moving on. So then they beat the bartender with pool cues.
Which isn't very effective.
I know. I was like, they know how to kill him. Why are they beating him with pool? Put it right through his brain.
That's what I was saying. There are a few frustrating parts where they just don't do the right thing.
And they know. Here, they know.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Like, why didn't they just drive out of town? They had a car. Drive until you get the middle of nowhere where there are a lot less zombies, but they don't do that. You know, there are little things where you're like, oh my God, why are you doing that? But this was so not serious that I wasn't as involved in survival
Then David goes to the fuse box and tries to
because they want the music off. They can't stop the music.
turn off the fuse that controls the jukebox, and he ends up flashing all the lights inside and outside the bar, which just draws all the zombies to them. So then Diane starts throwing darts at the bartender because Shaun's fighting with him, and she ends up hitting Shaun right in the head with a dart.
Yeah, she does. Pretty long dart. Wouldn't that? I guess that wouldn't do anything, but it seems like it would.
Yeah. And then Shaun smashes the bartender into the jukebox. It shoves his head into it.
And I think Diane likes Shaun.
Do you?
Yeah, there was
You think
a little
Diane
bit there.
likes Shaun and David likes Liz?
A little bit, yeah.
Okay, maybe. So then they learn the Winchester rifle is real.
The one that's over the bar that Shaun and Ed have been.
They've discussed it.
And they've argued about it because they said, oh, the bartender says dogs can't look up either or something. They have this ongoing discussion about it. But it is real. He almost takes out Ed with it because he says it's not real, and then he shoots it.
And then Liz finds out that Barbara has been bitten.
Shaun says to Liz, move my mom away from the windows, out to a safer spot. And then Barbara's giving Liz a necklace of hers. And Liz is like, no, she's about to say they broke up or something. And then she finds out that Barbara got bit by the man in the pajamas, and it's her wrist that's bitten.
So then Shaun starts shooting zombies with the Winchester as they try to come through the window.
But he misses it a lot.
He does. Or he hits him he gives a body shot or whatever, and not in the head, which I assume he's aiming for the head because he should know by now. Then Shaun learns that his mother has been bitten, and they pass the rifle to David.
Well, Shaun won't shoot his mom, and David takes the gun.
And Barbara thanks Shaun for the flowers, and then she kind of convulses and she gone. And then David pulls the rifle on Mom.
And there's a big fight there.
Yeah, Shaun and Ed both break a beer bottle and they put it up to David like they're ready to stab him, like an old time barroom brawl, Karen, just like the good old days.
And this is where it's like, you hate me. I know you hate me, Shaun is saying to David. And then we all say, we know you're in love with Liz. And even Diane knows he's in love with Liz. But he continues to point a gun at Shaun's mom, and they all argue. And Liz finally says, calm the fuck down. And Liz is like, we can't fall apart now. I know how hard it is. But then the mom stands up and she's a zombie.
Then David gives Shaun the rifle. He says, let me do it. And he shoots his mother right in the head.
And I know we've talked about this before, and Greg is perfectly fine with that, but I would have a hard time doing that.
She's already dead.
I know, but I'd still have a hard time doing it.
David says he did the right thing. Shaun punches him. David pulls the rifle and he pulls the trigger, but it's out of bullets and it clicks. He was going to shoot Shaun.
He was to get him if he wasn't going to shoot his mom. Or is that after?
That's after. He was going to kill Shaun.
Oh, he says he's leaving. They can't stay here anymore. And he tries to shoot Shaun, but the gun doesn't work.
And he says he's going to leave.
Yeah. Well, Diane said opening the door is stupid.
Diane stops him. And then David begins to apologize to Shaun. Well, he says, I'm sorry. And then Diane says, I'm not the one you should be apologizing to.
Right.
So then he begins to apologize to Shaun, but the zombies bust through the window behind him and grab him.
And this is probably the most graphic scene.
It is. This is pretty
I would say
graphic. Yeah.
They
tear him apart.
I don't want to call them kids, but Shaun and Liz.
I didn't like him anyway, so he kind of gets what he deserved, but whatever.
Have hold of his legs, try to pull him back in. The zombies are pulling him out. They show them the zombies eating his intestines. They're just ripping out his guts. And then at some point, the two holding his legs fall backwards, still holding his legs.
And his head comes off too. We see out.
Yes, and his
the
head
zombies.
comes off. So
He's
that's probably the most,
decapitated
the most graphic thing. And
you know.
Yeah.
And then Diane opens the door for some reason, and the zombies enter. And
she says, "I'm going to get David," which he's already in pieces. So I don't know why she said that, but
and she's hitting zombies with the
David's feet, his legs.
Whatever.
Yes, yeah, it is the legs. You're right.
But Shaun shoots the zombies with a rifle while Ed makes a Molotov cocktail.
And we do see Pete again, and he shoots Pete right in the eyeball. So he shot his mom and his roommate.
Yeah, I guess Diane dies here too, but I don't know that we see it.
No, I think she just gets pulled into the crowd of zombies.
So then Shaun and Liz dive behind the bar.
Ed's getting bitten at this point too, because there's so many in the...
Ed is attacked by zombies, yep. Well, Pete bites Ed.
Oh, that's right.
So Shaun and Liz dive behind the bar. They're surrounded by zombies, and then Ed jumps back there with them, bleeding. Then Shaun pours liquor on the bar top and lights it on fire. And
burns for a long time.
But they realize that the bullets are on the bar, so they got no bullets or cartridges. So then zombies begin to enter the bar area, and the shells start going off, of course, because, that's what happens.
Does that work?
Yes, that's what happens when you throw live ammunition into fire. Yes, it goes off, Karen.
Okay.
But then they find a trapdoor to the basement behind the bar. They go down there, and then Shaun, I wrote, Shaun has a little pity party.
We're trapped.
He's failed.
He can't save anyone. He's useless. Liz says, "At least you tried."
And then she asks, "How many bullets do we have left in our cartridges?" And he says 2. And he pauses for a second and says 2. Like he, remembered all that. And Shaun and Liz contemplate murder-suicide.
Yes.
But Ed wants to be shot.
Well, after they start,
he's bleeding out.
Fine at first. He's like, "Whatever, I don't mind being eaten. You go ahead and use the shells." And then they start getting a little mushy. And then Ed says in the background, "Ugh, I want to be shot." Could you shoot yourself? Could you do that?
No.
So in our murder-suicide pact, you could have no problem shooting me, but you couldn't shoot yourself.
True.
Okay.
So boys and girls, if you ever hear that I died by suicide, it's a lie.
Even in a zombie apocalypse.
My wife killed me.
Oh my God. There's a list, Greg.
Is there a list, Karen?
There's a lot of suspects.
Good to know. I'm making a note.
But they smoke a cigarette because they think it's over at this point. And when they go to light the cigarette, they see their escape route.
Yeah, Shaun discovers an elevator that lifts kegs up from the basement. So they think they can use it to get out. Ed decides to stay, and Shaun gives him the rifle. I don't know why, but whatever.
Well, to kill himself.
And a cigarette. I don't know.
Oh, I thought that's why.
It's not the most ideal weapon to kill yourself with, Karen. Just going to say.
Well, true.
So Shaun gives Ed a cigarette. Zombies begin to break in from the upstairs, and then Liz and Shaun take the lift, as they call it, across the pond, Karen. The lift.
They don't take the lift across the pond. That's what
that's what they call it, across the pond.
Yes.
Yeah. But they come up on the street filled with zombies.
And they start to try to fight them.
Yeah, they begin to fight the zombies off, and then all of a sudden the military arrives and just with a hail of bullets and shooting everything in sight. I'm shocked they weren't shot.
I know. That's what I thought immediately. How do they know they're not zombies?
And apparently Yvonne has brought the military, Karen.
Yeah, Yvonne has her shit together. She knows what to do. She'll take him to a safe place, and she does. They hold hands as they go to wherever Yvonne is taking them.
Then we see news reports, apparently 6 months later, because they're remembering Z-Day. And apparently now the zombies are being used in the service industry or for entertainment, Karen.
Yes.
Doing mundane tasks.
Like in the beginning where they showed the zombies getting the grocery carts. They've got them in game shows. And Shaun is now living with Liz.
Yep. Shaun and Liz in the apartment planning their day.
Which is very low key and not full of adventure. I think they've had enough adventure.
And then Shaun says he's going to go out to the garden. Liz says, okay, make it quick.
Does she know what it is, you think?
I think she must.
Okay.
Then we see Shaun going out to the shed, and he goes out there and starts playing video games with Ed, who is chained up inside the garden or inside the shed.
Looking all zombified.
Then we have another Queen song.
Best friends.
You're my best friend from A Night at the Opera, Karen. I know that one. Credits the end.
So do you think the zombies only decay to a certain point?
And You're My Best Friend was written by John Deacon, Karen, the bass player in Queen. I knew that too.
Okay.
I also know he wrote Another One Bites the Dust. But go on. What were you saying?
Do you think zombies only decay to a certain amount? Because it's 6 months later and they're still zombies. And Ed is there. And one of the kids they show that's getting the grocery carts is the kid who was such a dick to him at the electronics store. So just curious, do you think that
I think they keep rotting and degenerating.
So at some point
they're just going to collapse, and
no more Ed.
I mean, as long as his head is intact, I assume that.
But what's he eating? Do they starve to death?
They're undead. They're already dead.
Yeah, but they need to eat. That's the whole point. Yes, they do. Brains. That's why they go after people. They're starving. Oh, so they don't have to. They just want to.
If they don't, they become emaciated, Karen.
So are they feeding them like cow brains or something?
I don't know. He was a pretty big boy. He's got time.
I guess.
Well, these zombies don't need to eat brains. They just eat
flesh.
Yeah. So
yeah,
they can give him a burger, some ground beef, a steak, whatever, if they really want to keep him alive. All right, Karen, what did you think of the zombie cocktail?
I like the zombie cocktail.
Mine has evaporated.
Definitely a Lanine drink.
I will say, Karen, when I first made it, I was tasting it, something rubbed me the wrong way.
Really? What in there would rub you the wrong way?
I thought about that. I think it's the lime.
Oh, I like the lime.
It's the only thing I could come up with.
Yeah, because everything else in it seems right up your alley.
Yeah. I think it was the lime. But like I said, as it sat in ice, it got much better. I think the lime was a little strong to begin with. That's what I think. Apparently, it's a very famous cocktail, Karen. Yes. I don't know. Isn't it?
Yeah.
You don't know the history of it at all, Karen?
No, I don't.
All right. Yeah, it's a good cocktail. Anything we learned today, Karen?
We learned a lot about songs. If You Leave Me Now, White Lines, Don't Stop Me Now. We learned about Every Which Way But Loose. It's pretty much it.
You're my best friend, Karen.
Yeah, well, you filled them in on that. It's not a lot there. I mean, there's a lot of interpersonal relationships, but not a whole lot of things I could find something to write about. He does give a short speech from Bertrand Russell that we didn't talk about. And I had a little information about him.
But didn't he find that on a beer mat or something?
Yes, he did.
A Guinness beer. He was drinking Guinness. He
remembers
what he was drinking.
Bertrand Russell, one of the things that he was a public intellectual. I was like, oh, I'd like to be one of those. Sounds like you can just spout out whatever you want. But other than that, there wasn't a whole lot of, I don't know, extraneous stuff. It was pretty straightforward.
I think there would have been if we were British.
Probably.
Because I was reading about it and there was lots of cameos. There was a ton of them, like people who are zombies and the newscast.
Yeah,
the guys from Coldplay are in it at the end.
I did see that. Yeah,
I hate Coldplay, so I didn't even know who they were. But
I don't hate them, but I don't know a lot about them. But God. Yes, I saw Coldplay. Like, they were doing zombie.
Coldplay to me is like fingernails on a chalkboard, Karen.
They were doing zombie aid. It's funny. Probably because it would probably be like Walter Cronkite doing the news or something that we would know if we.
Yeah, and
as Americans.
there's Jerry Seinfeld. Oh, there's
We didn't.
Name
we didn't
another
know all the
comedian, an
cameos.
American comedian, like.
True.
But anyway, it would be like that. It'd be like he would be like one of the cameos if,
Yeah, we just missed a lot, I'm sure.
we're not British, so we don't recognize all those people. Because there's a whole freaking list. I looked online and I didn't recognize any of their names. Even when I clicked on them, I'm like, okay, don't recognize him. I did recognize Philip from the Underworld films, I believe.
Yeah, he's been in films. I recognized him. He's the only one, though.
From Underworld films? We've seen.
No, he's been in
films.
other films too.
Okay. All right. Anything else? Are we ready to move on to next week's film?
I think it's your pick.
Is it, Karen? What film have I chosen?
I don't know. Tell us all, please.
I don't know. What film have I chosen? Next week? Oh, next week, Karen, I have chosen the film Prince of Darkness.
And why have you chosen that film?
Karen, I chose that film because Prince of Darkness comes out on October 4th, and Donald Pleasant's birthday is October 5th, and he stars in Prince of Darkness by John Carpenter. Prince of Darkness from 1987. Karen, you remember 1987?
Sure do.
John Carpenter's Prince of Darkness.
Can't wait for that one. John Carpenter usually kills it.
He usually does. I do have a cocktail, if you were wondering, Karen.
I was just sitting here wondering, waiting. What is that?
And it's kind of one I've kind of come up with myself in a way. I've edited one to make it my own.
Interesting.
Is that what
What's
you do? I'm calling it the Green Dream, Karen.
Nice.
We're going to need melon liqueur, coconut rum, pina colada drink mix, and whipped cream, optional.
Oh, you got to go with whipped cream.
But
don't you think?
you got to use the whipped cream. Yeah, gotta. And it's based on a cocktail I found on food.com called the Blue Dream. I just made it green by changing out one of the ingredients.
Sneaky.
As you do, Karen. I look forward to watching that. I've heard good things.
Well, like I said, John Carpenter.
I know. I think a coworker suggested it to me, actually.
So you haven't seen it before?
I have not.
I have not either.
Been on my list, though, for a while. Anything John Carpenter's pretty much on my list. So, but there's only so many hours in a day, Karen.
You have a lot of lists, Craig.
That's what I do. All right, Karen, anyone you need to thank this week?
Well, as always, I want to thank our listeners. There's a lot of podcasts out there. Thanks for spending time with us. What about you, Greg? Who do you need to thank?
As always, I need to thank the band Verse 13 for providing all the music in the Scary Spirits podcast.
The music definitely makes the podcast better.
Anything else, Karen?
Please drink responsibly.
Yes, please.
Thanks for listening to the Scary Spirits podcast, where the movies might be iffy, but the drinks are always solid. We would love to hear from you. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at Scary Spirits Podcast, or go to our website, scaryspirits.com. And if you want the direct line, email us at info@scaryspirits.com. If you really want to help us out, leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. And remember, always drink responsibly. See you next week.